Super Mario 64, easily one of the most interesting and significant games to ever come out from the Mario franchise. It's significant for being the first ever Mario game in 3D and for being the first open world game in the series. The game marked a legacy for 3D Mario and Mario as a whole, cementing its rightful place in gaming history. Super Mario 64 has gathered the following in many different aspects, whether that be speedrunning, ARGs, or ROM hacks. However, for today's video, we will be going over another topic that Super Mario 64 popularized, being icebergs. Super Mario 64 was one of the first topics to popularize the iceberg format, having many charts be made about it and videos dating back all the way to 3.5 years ago. For those who are unfamiliar with icebergs on this channel, well, let me explain. Icebergs are a visual representation based on a topic featuring knowledge of it throughout the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg being information that is most knowledgeable to everyone, and as we go down the iceberg, the knowledge starts to become more unfamiliar and more unknown. Now you're probably asking yourself, why am I doing a Super Mario 64 iceberg of all things when there's already been like 13 videos made of it? Well, for starters, Super Mario 64 is an interesting topic to me, and I thought instead of watching iceberg videos to be more knowledgeable on the game, why not make the iceberg video myself? Having to do the research myself would help me more than watching a video, if I'm being honest here. This is also a test, in my eyes, to see if I can dedicate myself to doing bigger projects on my channel. If this works well, then cool I guess, but if not, then I guess it will be a learning experience for myself, we'll see. The iceberg itself has 5 layers, with each layer containing 24 entries. 24 times 5 is 120, which I did that purposely because the amount of stars you can get in Super Mario 64 is, well, 120. If I happen to get any information wrong throughout the iceberg, then feel free to correct me in the comment section. Real 2401. Real 2401 is easily one of the most infamous entries on this iceberg. In the castle's courtyard where the fountain is at, there is a statue we can find here which depicts a giant star with text that is not readable below. Many have speculated that the text reads Real 2401. This sparked many theories, with the biggest one being that if you do a certain task in the game, you can unlock Luigi himself. This would include very tedious tasks such as running around the Real 2401 statue 2,401 times or collecting 2,401 coins in the game. This would explain why Luigi is nowhere to be seen in the entire game. We see Peach, Bowser, Toad, and even Yoshi, but no signs of Luigi at all. It was a bizarre urban legend until the day of July 25th of 2020 when a certain leak happened. This would reveal the evidence that Luigi was once planned to be in the game, with him having his own model. I suppose after all this time, Luigi was indeed real. It is rather odd though how this was found out about after 24 years and 1 month of the game's release. Even if you add up 24 and 1, you get 25, which was the day of the Giga Leak, but that's just pushing it a little. Either way, it still is an odd coincidence. Super Mario 64 was once planned to have multiplayer with Luigi, but according to Shigeru Miyamoto, it was too big to handle, so it was scrapped. As for the unreadable text, it was most likely random, as you can find the same text in Ocarina of Time, meaning it had just nothing to do with Luigi. As for the Giga Leak that I mentioned, more on that topic later. The BLJ. The BLJ, meaning the backwards long jump, is a well-known glitch in Super Mario 64 that can exploit the lack of a backward speed limit while jumping. The backwards long jump is a huge factor of speedrunning in Super Mario 64, and it popularized the BLJ. It was helpful by having you skip almost the entire game. The best place you can perform this glitch, or some call it trick, is near a flight of stairs. To actually perform the backwards long jump, the player must hold backwards while performing a sequence of long jumps. If Mario stays on the ground while long jumping, you then continue to hold backwards and mash the jump button to perform this technique. Mario should continue to increase in speed backwards. Once you do that, the magic happens. The backwards long jump was theorized to actually be an intended feature by Nintendo, but I mean, really? First off, this glitch lets you skip most of the game, and second, this glitch has been patched out before in future versions of the game. This is, though, in my opinion, a cool glitch, and likely the most iconic one of any Mario game. Yay Bowser. Alright, so this one is a funny one. During the final boss fight against Bowser in Super Mario 64, when you throw Bowser with his tail, Mario can be heard saying, "So long, King Bowser."
So long, Bowser.
However, this line is infamous for how it sounds like, "So long, Bowser."
So long, Bowser.
Because of that, people would always mishear that for being the actual line, and people would meme the hell out of it. The origin of this misinterpretation comes from a user back in 2005 named Wizard, who created a gif of Mario swinging Bowser with the text saying, "So long, Bowser." It would then be spread even more by a YouTuber named Sergey Einstein, who would title the video "So long, Bowser" with the clip of the line repeating over and over again. People theorize that Nintendo was aware of this, and for the re-release of Mario 64 with 3D All-Stars, the line was ultimately removed from the game because of it. However, this wasn't the case, and Nintendo just used a different version of the game, being the Shindo version. This version would be an updated version of the original Japanese version of Super Mario 64. Here the line of "So long, Gay Bowser" was replaced by "Bye bye."
Bye-bye!
This was because Bowser's name in Japan is Koopa, so it wouldn't really make that much sense if Mario had said Bowser. However, in the N64 Switch Online re-release of Super Mario 64, "So long, Gay Bowser" ended up making its grand return. How nice that is. Special Triple Jump. This entry refers to the improved special triple jump that you can unlock after obtaining 120 stars in the game and talking to Yoshi. This triple jump now also gives you a sparkle effect while also making you invincible temporarily. The only catch here is that you lose the ability to perform the regular triple jump, which, you can decide if that's a disadvantage or not. Most people claim it to be a disadvantage though, because you can't wall kick on the third jump anymore, which, why Nintendo? I found this to be a cool little reward though for 100%ing the game, but something like Luigi himself would have been cooler in my opinion. Parallel Universes. This entry refers to a parallel universe, more so known as a PU. A PU refers to a phenomenon in Super Mario 64 that occurs far beyond the typical boundaries of the map. This phenomenon is present on every map in the game, including all the bonus areas and main courses. PUs start at approximately 65,536 units away from the main map. PUs do not contain any regular items you would collect normally, such as coins, power stars, or enemies, but instead only consist of the base geometry of a level such as slopes and hills. PUs occur at increments of 65,536 units in a grid-like pattern. If one was able to travel 65,536 units in a cardinal direction from a given PU, one would end up in a seemingly identical position from a level standpoint, but in a different PU. The reason for these PUs are caused by an overflow error within the code of Super Mario 64. When the game checks the location of Mario relative to floors and ceilings, it first truncates Mario's position from a floating point to a 16-bit integer number. As the range of a floating point is much greater than the range of a 16-bit integer number, if Mario's position exceeds the range of a 16 floating number, it will overflow and wrap back around. For example, if one of the floating point values corresponding to Mario's position is equal to 40,000 units, the number negative 25,536 will be used to check Mario's location relative to floors and ceilings. This has the unintended side effect of creating a phantom collision far beyond the borders of the map in grids of 65,536 units. PUs are most commonly found in groups of 4, as Mario's movements is split into quarter steps. If any of Mario's quarter steps lands in an area between PUs, his movement is cancelled. This leads to PUs being traveled in groups of 4, as Mario must gain enough speed so that each of his quarter steps lands in a PU. If all 4 of Mario's quarter steps land in a PU, he travels through 4 PUs. The distance is known as a quadruple parallel universe, or KPU for short. There are multiple ways to gain the speed necessary to access PUs within Super Mario 64. The most common is the backwards long jump, which we mentioned earlier. Here, Mario is able to gain absurd amounts of backwards facing speed. If enough speed is gained, Mario is able to use this speed in order to make a key PU motion. Other notable ways to access parallel universes are hyperspeed walking and bully battery. Although all courses and maps in the game are subject to the PU phenomenon, not all courses possess this means to gain enough speed to access them. There aren't any dangers when it comes to PUs, but there's always a chance of your game crashing. I find this to be a complicated and complex phenomenon, but honestly it's cool and fun to talk about. Impossible Coin. The Impossible Coin is a coin that is located in a tiny huge island. As you can tell from the name, this specific coin that I'm referring to is actually impossible to get. This is because there are parameters in the spawner object where the coin is making it impossible to obtain. When the spawner object is located into a course, it spawns its 5 coins 300 units above it. It then checks for a walkable ground starting from 78 units above the coins and then moves said coins to the nearest floor triangle below them. When the closest ground floor triangle is above the coin's hitbox, they will unload from the game. Because the Impossible Coin's hitbox is below the nearest ground triangle, it proceeds to despawn the coin. This is why you can never collect this coin at all in a normal playthrough of Super Mario 64. There are other known impossible coins that reside in both Tiny Huge Island again and Snowman's Land, both exploits and glitches. It makes these coins actually possible, unlike the Impossible Coin. Half A Press. The half A press refers to the process of holding down the A button but never actually releasing it. Now to regular gamers out there, that sounds stupid as why isn't it even on the Iceberg? Well, it's a known world topic in Super Mario 64 and it's gathered a small following, with the most notable being the birth of the A buttonless challenge. If you don't believe me, just take a look at this 138 video playlist on it, along with a 5-hour video describing the entire saga of this challenge. Yeah, I think small following is an understatement here. If you want to know more about half A presses, I suggest checking out 4.8 million views. Yeah, I forget what I said about, like a small following. Because I don't know what I was on about, but yeah, I suggest checking out that video if you want to know more. Who knows, maybe I might try this challenge one day. Seems fun. Hidden 1-up. In Whomp's Fortress, there appears to be a hidden 1-up that is difficult to spot if you're casually playing for the first time. In order to find this 1-up, you must break the wall on the tower of Whomp's Fortress. Some question the reason as to why it's even here, with others claiming it's due to personalization AI, which is false. Bomb Battlefield Bridge Hanging. In Super Mario 64 and Bomb Battlefield, you can actually hang onto the bridge underneath it. In order to perform this cool find, just stand below the bridge, jump, and then hold A and boom, there you go. You can also do this with other bridges, and you're probably wondering why this is. Well, it's because the bridges are programmed the same way as the gates you can hold from. Either this was a cool little Easter egg or just lazy programming here, you tell me. Lakitu Skip. The Lakitu Skip is the first essential step to any speedrunning category of Super Mario 64. This is mainly due to Lakitu taking up too much time in the beginning of the game. This trick can be done on any side of the bridge, but it would be wiser to just do it on the left side. You just have to slide, run, and jump towards that side of the bridge, and boom, you saved 8 seconds. You might not get it at first, but after a few tries you probably can. There are actually various versions of the skip, which I will play for you now. Super Mario 64 PC port. This entry is self-explanatory, but yes, there are PC ports of Super Mario 64. This can either be quality of life changes, better mechanics, better camera, or look like a completely new remastered game. These PC ports bring a new life to Super Mario 64, so I recommend giving some a try if you love Super Mario 64. Motos. Motos are a scrapped enemy in Super Mario 64. Their existence was found out about after 24 years thanks to the Giga leak, and their name Motos was dubbed that because of the code for it. Motos look like robots made straight from Robotnik that are similar to bullies and Chuckyas. Their way of attacking was to run straight at Mario and grab him and throw him in the lava, which is kinda brutal. In order to defeat a Moto, you must throw him in the lava, and there you go. It's unknown as to why they were scrapped or when they were even planned to be in the game, but it sucks that they weren't in 64. Super Mario 128. Super Mario 128 was originally the code name for a planned sequel of Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64 DD. Ultimately, the 64 DD project was scrapped due to commercial failure, meaning so was Super Mario 128. The original name of the sequel was titled Super Mario 64 2, but anyone can conclude that name just sounded awful. The project never went anywhere, as Miyamoto stated that they were just getting started. Sadly, there was never a Super Mario 128, but honestly I'm fine with what we got later being Super Mario 64 DS. 64 design used as a costume in Odyssey. In the latest 3D Mario installment of Super Mario Odyssey in the Mushroom Kingdom, you can actually unlock a costume resembling that of Mario's render in Super Mario 64. There's also a metal variant of this costume, which is awesome. A neat, cool little callback to Mario 64, I'd say. Speedrunning cult. Super Mario 64 has a very large speedrunning community. It's mostly why this game is so heavily talked about. From glitches to inputs to even the fastest of skips, speedrunning in general is where it is today thanks to Super Mario 64. Currently the best time for a full 120 star run is from an American player named Ouija. I recommend checking out his run as it's cool to see. If you want to know more about the history of Mario 64 speedrunning, I recommend checking out YouTuber Summoning Saul, as he has some great videos of Super Mario 64 speedrunning. Infamous piracy screen. This entry refers to the infamous fan-made piracy screen video from users Super Mario 64 Beta Archives uploaded on June 18th of 2020. It has gained a lot of traction, reaching over 2.2 million views on YouTube, and was one of the videos to gain an audience for the eeriness of anti-piracy screens. In the video, we are greeted with what seems like normal of the Super Mario 64 logo appearing. It isn't until it disappears and we hear Bowser laughing as we see the anti-piracy screen. We see Mario distressed on the N64 logo looking at a paper. Above we see the text,
"It is a serious crime to copy video games according to copyright law. Please refer to your Nintendo game installation booklet for further information."
Anti-piracy screens are always showing to me. These screens always make you look like you've done something wrong, and you feel that guilt crawling inside of you. It's not too scary, but not calming either, making it have the perfect sense of eeriness to it. There are other fan-made anti-piracy screens in Mario 64 and other games that I recommend checking out. Super Mario 64 commercials. This refers to all of the Super Mario 64 commercials throughout its time of release to promote the game. Here's a compilation of Super Mario 64 commercials that I found to be the best of the bunch.
Come on. Come on, Mario. Come on, Mario, jump! Don't give up.
Want to grow? The calcium in milk helps bones grow.
Okie dokie.
Banana. Ah! Oh, hey, Taco Bell. Ooh, give me some of that. 64.
Koopa the Quick's new shoes. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea as to what this entry refers to, as I looked it up everywhere but couldn't find anything. I'm assuming this is referring to his new shoes, which are found in Super Mario 64 DS. In Super Mario 64 actually, the secret of Koopa the Quick being so quick are for his Koopa Mach 1 sprint shoes. These shoes give him a boost, meaning he isn't actually quick himself. In Super Mario 64 DS, he has a new pair of shoes called Super Koopa Sprint Sneakers. Bigger Penguin. You all know the Big Penguin, the equivalent to Koopa the Quick, as you slide down to be a Big Penguin in a race to the finish line. Well, once you beat the game with 120 stars, you can actually challenge Big Penguin again, but this time he's even bigger, now claiming that he's been hitting the slide less and less, resulting in him getting bigger. Since he's more big now, he's able to knock you off more easily now that he takes up so much space. This is a cool find and even more reasoning to 100% the game. Lakitu's Bad Camera Job. This isn't anything too special, my friend just wanted this entry from another Mario 64 Iceberg to be in this video because, well, let's face it, the camera controls of Mario 64 are kinda bad. Since Lakitu is the one controlling the camera, I guess you can put all the blame on Lakitu here because he isn't really doing a good job throughout the game. The camera controls are probably the worst part of Super Mario 64, and I guess you can say Lakitu is doing a bad job until you question yourself, who is filming Lakitu when he's on screen? Yeah, it's just another Lakitu. Super Mario 64 DS. Super Mario 64 DS is a remake of the original Super Mario 64. The game was released as a launch title for the Nintendo DS back on November 21st of 2004 and introduced new things such as characters, collectibles, multiplayer, and extra minigames. This game would also heavily modernize several characters such as Koopa the Quick, who just resembles a modern Koopa Troopa now. If you want to know more about Super Mario 64 DS, I suggest checking out my friend's Iceberg on it. It's That Really You. After completing Super Mario 64 with 120 stars, you can then find Yoshi, who's awaiting for your arrival at the castle's rooftop. When you interact with Yoshi, he is shocked to see Mario and says, "It's that really you." Unfortunately for poor Yoshi's first 3D appearance, his line was misspelled. Yoshi was actually meant to say, "Is that really you?" I don't know how Nintendo messed up something so simple and ended up making it in the final cut here. If you thought Yoshi was done dirty here, oh, just you wait. Mystery Goomba. This entry is similar to the Impossible Coin entry we mentioned earlier in the layer. The Mystery Goomba, also known as James for whatever reason, is infamous for being a Goomba that is untouchable and very hard to view. Just like the Impossible Coin, there are spawners lying around in the Bowser Sky level with Goombas ready to spawn in. Each of these spawners contain 3 Goombas, however unfortunately for the 3rd Goomba, there isn't enough space for him where the spawner is at, so James just kinda spawns in a death barrier here. You can still view this Goomba though, you just have to have extreme precision, but no matter what you do, you can't harm it at all. Space World 1995 Beta. Finally, for our last entry of the layer, we have the Space World 1995 Beta. Here we can see footage of Space World 1995 as it shows an early build of Super Mario 64. Here you can see many different things such as different images for lives, stars, and coins along with a power meter acting as a before to the health meter. Oh, and you can also notice that Mario's voice is very different here. Some areas look off and the Bowser fight seem to relatively stay the same here. People have even gone as far as to make projects based on the Space World 1995 beta build to give an insight as to what Mario 64 would have been if it had kept everything from the beta. If you're interested in something like that, I suggest checking out the project for yourself as it's pretty cool. big dud. After your encounter with King Bomb and defeating him, he explodes and seems to be dead. It's a little left up in the air until you talk to the pink Bomb at the start of the level, who tells you that King Bomb is just a big dud now. What does this mean? Well, people have theorized that since there's now an added third rolling ball at the bottom of the mountain, it is presumed to be King Bomb, who is now deceased and become a big dud. This is because the rolling balls have the same texture as King Bomb along with the fact it just happened to appear right after you defeat King Bomb. While there are some good pointers about this theory, King Bomb does reappear throughout the series, but what if it's just another King Bomb? There are in fact 2 other rolling balls besides him, so does that make those rolling balls former King Bomb? I guess we'll never truly know. Clicking behind the waterfall. Whenever you go to Peach's castle near the waterfall and listen very closely, you can hear a weird clicking sound behind the waterfall. What is this clicking sound anyways? Well, people have claimed it to be Hazy Maze Cave's theme in reference to the cavern of the metal cat, but I'm deaf sometimes and I can't really hear it. It's not some secret song either like the Taka song or another hidden song, as it just sounds like someone tapping on a desk with their fingernails. Here's the sound itself and let me know what you think. Mirror Room. For this entry, we're going to be looking at the second floor of Princess Peach's castle. Here we can find what is called the Mirror Room. This room is known for the giant mirror that shows the reflection of Lakitu and Mario. Many have speculated if there is anything behind the mirror of the Mirror Room, more specifically the reflection of the door. Theories, myths, and rumors sparked up quickly until we got our answer in Super Mario 64 DS. Here, when playing as Luigi and using the Power Flower, we finally get our answer and it's what you won't expect. It's White Void. Yeah, nothing too special. Makes you wonder though, why is there just a random white void in the Mario universe? Kind of eerie if you ask me. Does it lead to anywhere? I have no idea. Big Boo's unused dialogue. In Super Mario 64, Big Boo was supposed to have some unused dialogue found in the files. The dialogue that Big Boo was supposed to say was,
You're mine now. I'll pass right through this wall. Can you do that?
Big Boo was able to pass through walls, and him laughing like that makes sense. I have no idea why this dialogue was unused, but I thought it was okay. Yoshi's Saddle. Yoshi, as we mentioned earlier, being on top of the castle once you obtain 120 stars, actually has a different saddle design than what he normally has. As you can see, the white rim around the saddle is not shown here. This was an accident because the model of Yoshi indicates that the white rim was supposed to be there, but I'm assuming the red color just overlapping the white rim, or it's just the color red. You mean to tell me that they messed up his dialogue and his design too? Man, poor Yoshi. Again. Shh, please walk quietly in the hallway. Going back to the second floor of the castle, you can find a billboard near the stairs leading up to the third floor. It reads, "Shh, please walk quietly in the hallway." This is rather strange as there is nothing to be quiet about in this area as there isn't anything here at all. Every other sign gives you advice, but this one tells you to walk quietly as if it was some sort of tip. It's almost as if something we don't know is roaming the hallway just as we are. A ghost perhaps? Maybe there was some mechanic that got scrapped in this area, or maybe the developers just added it for when the castle is busy, I'm not sure. Signs like these can be seen as normal, but with the castle just being all empty, it is a little bit eerie. Dancing flowers. In Super Mario 64, there are many weather settings that can appear in various areas of the game. Some weather particle effects such as snow in snowy areas or lava bubbles in lava can also appear in these levels. One of these effects that went unused in the final game is dancing flowers. It would start dancing near Mario, kind of like flowers in Yoshi's Island, which they even look like it too. What's strange about these flowers is that they would have originally appeared in Lethal Lava Land, which is surrounded by lava, which just doesn't make sense at all. I would have pictured a more grass-like or friendly area. People claim that these dancing flowers were just used as a testing tool for environmental effects, which does seem likely. However, my guess if they were meant to be in the game were maybe to distract Mario by dancing? I don't know. Cool Medal. When going to Big Boo's haunt, one of the signs you can find outside the large mansion reads that if the player makes it out alive, they deserve a cool medal. This is just a silly little ghost pun for a gold medal. Despite what this sign says, you can never actually get a gold medal. This was probably just a throwaway line just to make that one ghost joke. Others claim that obtaining this gold medal can unlock various things, even Luigi, but we all know that's fake. A more possible situation was that these gold medals could have been related to the key objects that went in use for this course. Maybe it would have led to something else? I'm not completely sure. Volcano blocks. Volcano blocks refer to a weird arrangement of blocks at the end of the volcano in Lethal Lava Land. The placement of these blocks is out of place when compared to the brimstone of the volcano. It is speculated that these blocks could be the remains of a lost civilization, which would be cool, but they're most likely just here for decoration. However, these blocks must have been rearranged and moved around by someone because they just don't naturally appear like that, being so odd compared to the rest of the level. My guess is that Bowser moved it or just some random enemy. Unagi's Tunnel. Unagi's Tunnel is an area that can only be found in personalized copies of Super Mario 64. In order to enter it, you must go into the tunnel in the deep section of Jolly Roger Bay, which normally Unagi is found hiding in. In a few copies, the area appears to look like a graveyard of eels resembling Unagi, while the other eels can be found at weird angles. In other copies of the game, you can find a clam that releases a manta ray who is guarding a diamond-shaped water switch that can change the water level on the tunnel. Finally, in another copy, there are Goombas in the tunnel. The more popular copy and instance of this event are the eels that can be found at weird angles. You can actually see it here in the footage that I'm showing right now. The eels in Super Mario 64 are already creepy looking enough, and having to now see multiple of them like this is a bit chilling, but that's what makes it so cool. The yellow cap switch. The yellow cap switch is an unused object in Super Mario 64. There are other colored cap switches in the game, being red, green, and blue, all giving you power-ups to help you along your journey. Red gives you the wing cap, allowing you to fly in the air, green gives you the metal cap, allowing you to turn metal, and finally, the blue cap gives you the vantage cap, allowing you to not be visible and hide away from enemies. Knowing all of this, what would the yellow cap switch have done? Well, according to the decompilation of Super Mario 64, we learn here that it was supposed to give you a Koopa shell. The shell would have most likely been a yellow color due to the yellow cap switch being yellow. What this would have done to help during the game, I am unsure of. Maybe it could have been used to take out enemies or maybe to slide down with a Koopa shell against a third competitor like Koopa the Quake or the Big Penguin. It's a very specific ability that probably would have been rarely used in the actual game if it stayed. This was most likely why it was scrapped, or maybe the Koopa shell itself was just a placeholder item for a cap switch ability that we didn't know of. Who knows? A secret aquarium. The secret aquarium is a secret course in Super Mario 64 that can be accessed via a small alcove in Jolly Roger Bay right on the door. Now this may seem like a very well known thing to put on the iceberg, but this secret aquarium is more than meets the eye. There have been strange anomalies surrounding the aquarium, such as the aquarium limbo. The aquarium limbo, documented by Jeff-tastic, who is providing footage here, gets access to the aquarium limbo and is just as what you expect, being in limbo as Mario is trapped underwater, slowly drowning. After this brutal death, a weird text appears and we're back to where we started, although oddly enough we can never enter this limbo area again. Another bizarre thing about the secret aquarium is just the overall setting. You're like in a sky-like area looking from the window. Just where are we exactly? Everything else has a realistic setting except for the secret aquarium. Bugged fire texture. When Mario takes damage from the fire, there is a smoke texture that can appear. However, this isn't done correctly because it's displayed in the wrong format, making it incorrect. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's it?
Mips throwing. This refers to the fact that Shigeru Miyamoto himself stated that Mario was originally able to throw Mips around by grabbing their ears. However, for whatever reason, this was removed from the game. You can still technically throw Mips though, with the glitch that can be found by glitching it into the room where the moat gets lowered and throwing him underwater. Some players have claimed that throughout their playthrough they vividly remember that you could actually throw Mips normally. This has led to some belief that it was personalization AI allowing for the player in some copies to throw Mips and some other copies to remove this ability. For further information, there is actually an unused model found in the files that is believed to be an early version of Mips, which has led people to call this model Mipsy. These were believed to be much faster and harder to catch than Mips. Maybe Miyamoto was referring to these Mips that you could end up throwing. However, likely due to difficulty, Mipsy was scrapped. Womp King turns into castle. When encountering Womp King, they claim that Womps are used to build structures such as roads, towers, and castles. It begs the question, does that kill them or are they still alive at that point? It's a similar feeling to King Bob-omb when he supposedly turns into a steel ball on whether or not they still have a consciousness in this new state of form. Similar to King Bob-omb, after defeating the Womp King, he takes a new form as the tower as it takes its place. It makes you wonder if Mario is just a murderer at this point. My question is, did the Womp King just crumble and get made into a tower with its parts? I'm not sure, to be honest. Attacking Butterfly. An odd but cool Easter egg found in Super Mario 64 is that the butterflies found in various areas of the game can actually be attacked by making contact with them. In doing this, you will either be greeted by nothing happening, a 1-up mushroom which is cool, or a whole TNT explosion inside of the butterfly to kill you. Yeah, for whatever reason, these suicide bombing butterflies can only appear in Tall Tall Mountain and 10 Huge Island, but why do they even explode? My guess is that the developers just thought it was funny. Nice going, Nintendo, you really got me with that one. Jolly Roger Bay Secret Ship. In Jolly Roger Bay, for whatever reason, there is an exact replica of the Jolly Roger Bay ship floating up in the sky. You cannot see it normally unless you have a level editor or an out of bounds point of view. Unlike the regular Jolly Roger Bay ship, you can't touch it at all as it's just there. Personally, I just view this as the Flying Dutchman ship from SpongeBob. Tuxie Dive. Tuxie is the baby penguin found in Cool Cool Mountain that you must return to the mother penguin for a star. A neat little trick that you can do with the baby penguin is that when you dive near it, the penguin will actually dive with you, which is a cool little Easter egg. You can also do this with the other baby penguin, causing a double penguin dive, which is funny but cool to see. I wonder if they dive mid-air when you throw them. Probably not a good idea. E.T. and Pyramid. When looking at the ancient writings in Shifting Sandland's pyramid, the letters E.T. are written on the pyramid. Now when I think of the letters E.T., I just think of the alien from the movie E.T., with many others thinking the same thing. This has led to people thinking that aliens are in Super Mario 64, which does sound like a cool concept, but I feel like the closest we'll get to that is the Hell Valley Skytrees. Other people claim that it might have to do with the Shifting Sandland UFO, which is another anomaly in the Super Mario 64 universe, where Mario can find UFOs flying around, with even a secret star being inside of the UFO. It would be funny to see E.T. and Mario though. Hazy Maze Cave Alcove. This is referring to the area found in the Hazy Maze inside of the Hazy Maze Cave. Here you can find alcoves where they represent kind of like rest areas and nothing more, because they don't really seem to serve a purpose at all and they're just kind of there. They don't even need to be a rest area because just being at a higher ground is enough rest, so why did these alcoves even exist? Just because? Maybe the developers at one point didn't include the higher ground and these alcoves were your only option to have some time to relax maybe? Is there a mystery to these alcoves' existence? Probably not, but it's always fun to speculate. Big Star Secret. Big Star Secret is a Lost Screamer type video that attempts to convince the viewer that Luigi is unlockable in Super Mario 64. The video is 5 minutes long and was uploaded to YouTube on August 15th of 2007. The video for some reason had a blue tint effect to it. The actual video's lost media is only partially seen through a 30-second reaction video. Here we can see Mario running around the beginning areas of the game. Suddenly out of nowhere in the video we get a cheap zombie jump scare scream, and this scares the kid to death who is reacting to the video. The origin of the zombie screamer shown in the video can easily be identified as the infamous Keffi commercials. Keffi is a coffee product, and what does coffee do to you? Well, it makes you energetic and makes your heart race. Combine the effects of coffee with fear and boom, Keffi. This is why the commercials show a relaxing scenery each time, because when the coffee kicks in you get jump scared and you can feel the adrenaline that the caffeine, or I guess scream, gives you. As for the actual video itself, no existence of it has shown up other than the footage shown in that reaction video. There have been recreations as to what it would have looked like, but the real video has yet to surface. We've uncovered the biggest secrets of Mario 64, but it seems that this one remains a mystery. For now. Broken Paintings. Broken paintings refer to the paintings you can find on Mario 64 on the second floor of Princess Peach's castle. When it comes to these broken paintings, you're not able to jump into them at all. Because these are not working paintings like the rest of the paintings you can find, they're referred to as broken. What's interesting is that they're replica paintings of the paintings you can find at the beginning of the game, like Bomb Battlefield. My question is, why aren't these paintings working? And if they did, would it lead to the same areas the regular painting did, or would it lead you to somewhere else entirely? Don't become his lunch. This refers to a quote that is found from a sign in Hazy Maze Cave that warns you to not become his lunch. This can be quickly directed to Dory, although it's rather strange as Dory never attacks you in Super Mario 64. People have speculated that this can be in reference to the strange anomaly known as Mother Dory, who is said to attack the player. Although this does not make much sense, as Mother Dory is a she while the sign says him. I suppose this is referring to Dory, although was this just a funny quote, or was he at one point supposed to attack Mario? My guess is that Dory was originally an enemy, but who knows if that's even true. The 2020 Giga Leak. This is easily the most infamous entry on the Slayers, so I wanted to include it last. The 2020 Giga Leak is a series of leaked data from Nintendo that were posted on 4chan. Despite being called the 2020 Giga Leak, it actually would start in 2018, but would gain traction due to certain findings in 2020. I won't go too much into the Giga Leak, but instead I'll talk about everything Super Mario 64 related that was found from this leak. Firstly, we were given to Mario's placeholder voice samples where he sounds like a crazy version of Michael Jackson. Hearing all these voice samples is quite funny, like imagine if this voice was the voice of Mario for the rest of the series. Here we can also find motos, which we discussed earlier on the Iceberg. I really hope in some alternate universe motos are just chilling in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. After that, we get an unused animation of Mario dancing when he gets a star. This one is funny, but yeah, I prefer the actual one used in the game. Next is a big one, as we are now given access to the beta test stages, which is cool. As you would expect, all these stages are all wacky and varying in colors and shapes. Finally, the biggest finding of this Giga League Super Mario 64 wise is Luigi. As we mentioned earlier, also in the Iceberg, Luigi was in fact real. After so much speculation, he was found in the Giga League and can now actually be playable. Luigi was originally meant to be a player 2 again for an unfortunate scrap multiplayer. Because of this, Luigi was never included in the actual game, which sucks. However, thanks to the Giga League, all of our questions were answered. My only question now is, where's Luigi in Mario Sunshine? Probably sleeping in his new mansion.
If you're wondering why I'm even a part of this video, is because this man held me at gunpoint, and he said if I don't do this, then he'll threaten to dox me and kill my family, so, yeah. Bomb Bomb Village is an alleged unused area that resembles Rainbow Village and is connected to Bomb Bomb Battlefield and the... Motherfucker, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, start over. Bomb Bomb Village is an alleged unused area that resembles Rainbow Village and is connected to Bomb Bomb Battlefield and the Bomb Bombs themselves. In order to access this area, you must shoot into a hidden ward in Bomb Bomb Battlefield with a cannon into a skybox, or by entering one of the broken paintings that we mentioned earlier on the Iceberg. What you're seeing here is footage of Bomb Bomb Village from user Infinity64, which does resemble Bomb Bomb Battlefield. The difference here is that there are more structures here, along with a sunset type of sky. Here you can also fight King Bomb Bomb inside of a castle-like area. There was another documentation by a user known as Black Joystick, but for whatever reason, the video is now private. This village can only be found in personalized copies of Super Mario 64. True locations of painting world refers to the fact that some of the paintings found in Super Mario 64 can be connected to the setting of the castle. For instance, Wing Mario over the rainbow is above the castle, while Dire Dox's hatch leads into the lake of the castle's grounds. Bomb Bomb Battlefield is also noted to be the vicinity of Princess Peach's castle. This is because you can view both areas in Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, and also due to the areas being around the same. It's nice to know that some of these locations are real, unlike others such as Big Boo's Haunt. When exploring Super Mario 64, people have claimed seeing faces on the dirt texture in the game. Now, while examining this myself, I can't really see any face, and I think people might just be reaching here. However, if this is true, this wouldn't be the first time Nintendo has tried to make you uncomfortable with faces. The secret slides in the castle, Cool Mountain, and Tall Mountain all take place in blackboards, which I found rather odd. Wouldn't it just take place where the area was? I never thought about this myself, but once you fall, is there even a ground at all? Or is it just an infinite blackboard that Mario forever falls in? In other Mario games, there are brutal deaths when falling down, but at least there's a design to these endless voids, unlike Mario 64 where it's just pure pitch black. Aspects like this just play a role in making Super Mario 64 eerie for how empty it feels. Bringing us to Super Smash Bros. Melee, in the Rainbow Ride stage we can notice that this stage has a mountain with a village on it. Why is this here? Many people have speculated that this village was an unused sub-area to Rainbow Ride that would contain this village. Unlike Bomb Bomb Village, this unused village has some credibility behind it. As for the purpose of Rainbow Ride's village, people have claimed it would have just been a red coin level and nothing more. In my opinion, I don't believe it went unused, and I feel like Sakurai just added the mountain and village for decoration. The skybox for Wet Dry World is notorious for looking different compared to the other skyboxes in the game. Here we see an image of what looks to be a submerged and abandoned city. This is very eerie and gives you the hint that maybe there was another civilization existing before they all moved on to the next life. Because of this depressing looking image, people have claimed that this image and Wet Dry World itself have a negative aura around it and causes people to feel negative emotions. On the other hand, it can do the opposite and leave a positive emotion on you. Personally, I find this to leave a negative emotion on myself because it looks depressing and the music that is playing in the background. Overall, to me, it just presents a negative emotion that I can't really explain. The skybox certainly doesn't help here. Big Boo's haunt can be entered through a cage on the top of some grass in the castle's courtyard. However, the skybox is of a nighttime forest. Due to the skybox, there have been theories that state that due to Mario shrinking to enter the cage, the grass looks like a forest due to it being big now. However, some people have exited the cage and found a hidden course known as Big Boo's Forest. The most common version of Big Boo's Forest that players have seen is a large forest with a path that leads to an old cabin. When exploring this path, it is said to give players anxiety, with some entirely refusing to go off of the path due to how scary and anxiety-inducing it is. Further speculation has come to the conclusion that this area could be the unused level 37 Horror 2. This unused level is supposed to be a cut level from the final game. Many have claimed that this level is indeed Big Boo's Forest, and furthermore, going back to the 2020 Giga Leak that we mentioned earlier in the Iceberg, the name of the level was found in the files, but no actual clear evidence of this unused level exists. Whomp's Fortress Interior is the name given to yet another supposed sub-area, this time being in Whomp's Fortress. The interior is nothing special as it reuses several assets of Whomp's Fortress. The player will have to jump from platform to platform as the level has a large bottomless pit throughout it. Upon reaching the end, there will either be a star, leave it in, or a fight with King Whomp, who will then give the star. Either way, unlike the other rumored sub-areas, this one seems to be a bit more eerie. This might just have to do with StarCap Cup's footage, though, as it's just a recording from a TV giving it a more eerie vibe, but I don't know, what do you guys think? We've discussed about how the developers of Super Mario 64 let a misspelling of Yoshi's text fly by, and then how they forgot to put a white rim around Yoshi's channel. But what if I told you it just gets worse from here? After you finish talking to Yoshi on the top of the castle, he then just flies away into the lake just to disappear randomly. Like what? Does Yoshi just have teleporting abilities or something? Why does he just disappear like that? This weird animation has people to believe that Yoshi committed suicide here. I'm not joking. Now that has a dark tone, but Yoshi isn't going to die from water, right? Well, it isn't the Sunshine Yoshi, so what's the explanation for this? When looking at the actual animation in the files, it is called Yoshi_go home. What this could mean is that Yoshi is just going back home to Yoshi's Island and him disappearing. Well, they couldn't animate it the right way apparently. But then again, this game did come out in 1996. Yoshi was done dirty throughout the entirety of this game. But at least he got some justice being a playable character in the DS remake. In the skybox of Bob-omb Battlefield and Tiny Huge Island, there are several islands seen in the distance. People have claimed that these are actually the setting of a hidden course, although there is no evidence for that. The one in Bob-omb Battlefield, though, could be theorized as Bob-omb Village, but once again there is no evidence for that. It does make me wonder what is on those mountains. There's always areas of games that are normally not available to explore, unless you use cheats. However, the beauty of skyboxes is that you can never actually reach them. This entry refers to early screenshots of The Legends of Zelda Ocarina of Time, known as Zelda 64 at the time, featuring a town-like setting that is oddly identical to Wet Dry World's town. This is most evident when it comes to the door textures used, which just so happens to be used in both games. Some changes to point out is that the sky can actually be seen here in Zelda 64. The main question is, why is this even in Zelda 64? This is because of the well-known fact that Ocarina of Time and Mario 64 were both developed at the same time. This is why the L is real 2401 text can also be seen in Ocarina of Time. Knowing this information, it's not surprising to see a reference to Wet Dry World here. Maybe we could have seen Piantismio, or whatever the fuck that character. I cannot read, I'm sorry. Point is, we could have seen that character in Mario 64 instead of Sunshine. Cold Crevasse is an area that is mentioned within Cold Mountain on a sign near the spawn area of the course. Although despite being mentioned, it doesn't appear anywhere on the map, nor anywhere where the sign is located, leading to confusion amongst players. It does not appear to match up to anywhere near where the sign is, leading many to believe that it is a remnant of a scrapped sub-area for Cold Mountain. Yes, I know, another scrapped sub-area. Sorry. I guess Layer 3 really loves rumored scrapped areas. Anyways, here's footage of Cold Crevasse provided by Keftax once again. It's a dark cold area with snowmen and flower-like enemies. Nothing too special, but cool nonetheless. The textures that are used in Super Mario 64 are downside to 32 by 32. Sometimes 32 by 64 or 64 by 32 to save on file size. Many of these textures can still be sourced back to pre-existing images or textures. Here are some images of source material used in the game. In Dire Dogs, we can see Bowser's submarine before you defeat Bowser in the Fire Sea. Once you defeat Bowser in the Fire Sea, his submarine is nowhere to be seen. Now you're probably wondering where it could have gone. Well, there is an exit in a particular hole, but strangely enough it leads to the lake in Princess Peach's castle. It doesn't make any sense as the submarine simply would not be able to fit as it's too large. This begs the question as to how Bowser even got to Dire Dogs, let alone enter the lake with his huge submarine. My theory is that he created a portal himself with a submarine already in Dire Dogs, meaning he wouldn't have to bring it from Princess Peach's castle. As for exiting Dire Dogs with his submarine, I'm not sure about that. In Big Boo's haunt, there is a very rare chance that you'll hear a creepy low-pitched Boo laugh. Not much is known as to why it's rare, but that makes it all the more scarier. This seems to mostly occur before entering the door, although it might come after this in some cases, but I'm not exactly sure. Here is some footage that I found from Alex Ross while he was performing a speedrun.
But still. Whoa, what the fuck? Yo, what? Did anyone just hear that? Did anyone just hear that? There's not supposed to be a laugh there. What in the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Who just heard that? What?
Credit to Midnight Crick, as without him I would have not guessed the meaning behind this entry at all. Before his Iceberg, there was some confusion left by the writer of the Iceberg that he covered in that Mario was able to enter Wet Dry World early by obtaining 37 stars in the Mario Got Milk commercial, which doesn't make any sense. And this is because 31 stars is the minimum amount of stars you need to obtain in order for you to unlock Wet Dry World. Take a closer look at the skybox that is in Wet Dry World. Notice anything different? Mario enters Wet Dry World early, not because of the amount of stars he obtained, but the fact that Mario entered a Wet Dry World before the town flooded, creating the skybox we know today. This was a confusion by many people until Midnight Crick was able to solve the mystery as to why this was an Iceberg entry. He's an absolute Chad for figuring this out. This one is kinda weird. I couldn't explain this entry myself in detail even if I wanted to, as I feel like only the creator of this theory can. The thread from the creator of this theory, Owen Cyclops, will be linked in the description for further detail and interest. I do recommend checking it out as it is fairly interesting. Lethal Lava Land's painting is of a fire with a face with a black background. Most paintings depict some part of the course they lead to. For instance, Bob Bomb Battlefield depicts the Bob Bombs you'll meet in this course. Dire Dogs shows the ships you'll come across. Cold Mountain shows you the snowmen you will encounter and more. What makes Lethal Lava Land so odd is that you never once encountered this fireball with a face. It makes you wonder if there was an unused fireball with a face enemy lying around somewhere, but I doubt that. Tower of the Wing Cap is an area in the sky that takes place on 5 towers sticking up into the sky. As of the making of this iceberg, it is currently unknown where the beginning of these towers are. We are so far up in the sky, just where are we below ground? Again, we have no answer, but people have claimed that the alleged Eternal Fortress level being described to have 4 towers in the sky might just be it. However, we'll never get an answer to this unless it's the stage in Smash Bros.
An image of Princess Peach's castle with a wall moved to make the room seem unnerving. Now this is what I got from an Iceberg chart that I was looking at, but never actually provided the image itself for it because yeah, that helps. Instead, my take on this entry will be referring to popular liminal space images made from Super Mario 64. Here is the image I'm guessing they are referring to. It does in fact look unnerving. This entry refers to the theory that the skyboxes shown in Super Mario 64 are actually real photos that were taken in real life. While this would be cool, it does seem highly unlikely. I say this because most of the skyboxes here don't look natural at all. The only real skybox from Super Mario 64 is Wet Dry World, as someone has found real-life depictions of the world combined into the skybox of Super Mario 64. Will the other skyboxes meet the same fate? Again, I'm not sure, as they don't look natural. As for real photos taken and not edited whatsoever like Wet Dry World, not likely. In the debug menu's level select of Super Mario 64, shorthands are used for courses, and some names are quite interesting. These names are... Teresa Obake translates to Boo Apparition, leads to Big Boo's Haunt. In Super Mario 64 there are a total of 120 stars. 120 is considered an angle number. Angel number. Wait. Okay, just leave this in. In Super Mario 64 there are a total of 120 stars. 120 is considered an angel number. An angel number is a divine message believed to be sent from the spirit realm. Spiritual realm, I meant. Each number has a different divine message and meaning to it, and 120 is no different. The spiritual significance and meaning of 120 is that it centers around balance and refocus. It is about refocusing on your life and goals, and what does that have to do with Super Mario 64 exactly?
Nothing! Now get out! What? Get out!
For our final entry of Layer 3, we have the end screen of Super Mario 64. This screen has given players chills for its atmosphere and odd perspective. Here we can see a cake with Peach and Mario on the top, which is cool. The part that is off-putting for players are the weird shapes of objects in the background along with a face. This face can be assumed to be Yoshi with an eerie grinning smile. Other players have claimed it to be a child smiling, but I don't see it. Yoshi probably has the weirdest reputation in Super Mario 64, I swear. Am I done here? Cool, that means I can go now. Bye.
The Wario Apparition. If you're a somewhat big fan of Super Mario 64, I'm sure you have seen this image at least once. The Wario Apparition is perhaps one of Super Mario 64's most infamous anomalies. Here we can see in the image that a floating Wario head is in the hallways to Dire Dire Docks. It is said that the mere existence of the Wario Apparition can give you feelings of paranoia and trauma into any player who comes across the Wario Apparition. This is mainly due to how unexpected this occurrence is. The reason behind the Wario Apparition's appearance is unknown, but it is speculated to be AI pulling unused Wario assets to create a boss of sorts. The Wario Apparition would go on to be referenced in an E3 1996 panel focused on fun. The Forbidden Door. I believe this is referring to the door that is on the other end of the mirror room. It was unknown as to what the other door led to until we mentioned earlier on the Iceberg that in Super Mario 64 DS it was a white void. This white void would ultimately lead to a star, although it was never explained why this white void exists. Toad Projection. This refers to the fact that toads can turn transparent when you are not near them. This ties into the theory of toads being trapped inside the walls, however we'll discuss that later in the Iceberg. Ally with info. In Super Mario 64 DS, a toad informs you that there is an ally with info in the mirror room. Many believe that this could be in reference to Wario, but when using Wario and talking to Toad, the dialogue doesn't change. This could either be referencing an unused NPC in the game, or maybe the power flowers that are found inside. My guess is that Toad is just referring to yourself looking into the mirror. The course and the Bowser painting. There are two main paintings of Bowser that you cannot enter for whatever reason. The first painting resides at the entrance of Bowser in the Dark World, and the second painting is at the entrance of Bowser in the Sky, leading to some to speculate what is inside of these paintings. What would it lead to if you were to jump into them? Speculation leads to Bowser's domain, which is said to be Bowser's secret base. This can lead to various other locations, including unlocking Luigi. Others have claimed that this is tied to 15 course, which I have no information on since I couldn't really find anything about it. My guess is Rainbow Ride, since it's the 15th course. However, this painting isn't anything special, as in Super Mario 64 DS, it seems to be Bowser in the Dark World. Metal Mario texture. The texture that was used for Metal Mario is the default texture for Metal in the SGI workstation. Weirdly though, this texture would never be reused for any of Metal Mario's future appearances, even with his old Super Mario 64 model returning as a costume in Super Mario Odyssey. The Bowser Room. The Bowser Room is an area speculated to exist in Super Mario 64. It is described as a gray, tiled room with a slope leading to a panel looking out of the room to Bowser. This panel, some have claimed, is actually a painting. The image was given life by YouTuber OnePlays. It is claimed to be Shigeru Miyamoto's favorite room from what source? No clue. Some people claim that it is a part of Princess Peach's castle, others state that it's an hidden Easter egg, and others claim that it is a part of a bad ending. It's obviously a hoax, but interestingly, this hoax does kind of exist. In Super Mario 64 DS, there is an actual unused gray room with Bowser himself featuring all the 4 main playable characters. The image itself is funny, but I wonder what the purpose of this was. Maybe to test something? I'm not completely sure. Brain diagram. In Wet Dry World, there is supposedly a brain texture within the files of it. Most depictions of this texture resemble one of the paintings seen in the game, as you can see here from Reddit user Harry_Doe. The level itself is described to be a physical representation of a brain, where the level structure is meant to simulate a brain and its activities, with the hidden sound underwater separate from the level meant to represent the subconscious mind. Because it is initially underwater, it could theoretically be related to the condition of hydrocephalus. To quote the definition of it, hydrocephalus is the buildup of fluid in cavities called ventricles deep within the brain. The excess fluid increases the size of the ventricles and puts pressure on the brain. Unfortunately, this is a hoax, as there is no actual brain texture within Wet Dry World, but it's always fun to speculate. There have been some reaches, but they're just reaches and nothing more. Full Omen Archives. A former Nintendo employee nicknamed Omen once leaked important files related to the Nintendo 64, which ended up being called the Omen Archives. These archives gave the ability for early Super Mario 64 ROM hacks to be made. There are theories out there that there is a bigger picture here that we are not seeing, with personalization AI and more, but obviously we just know that's false. Hazy Maze Cave entrance is a sewer? When entering the entrance room of Hazy Maze Cave inside, you can see that there are several pipes along the walls, and the portal to the course is on the floor. This has led players to believe that this room is the castle sewers. This is tied to the Hazy Maze Cave as the capsule's septic system theory. This theory is stupid and funny, but I'll explain it anyways. Basically, this theory have claimed that the boulders are balls of shit from Bowser. And the gas in the Hazy Maze Cave, well, you can guess what that is. And the pipes along the walls are toilets. Yeah, what a theory. Silicon Graphics Curse. Silicon Graphics Inc., SGI for short, helped create a chip called MIPS, which stands for Microprocessor Without Interlocked Pipeline Stages. It helped make the Nintendo 64, and the name was used for Mips the Rabbit for, I guess, thanks? I don't know. However, SGI ended up filing for bankruptcy in 2009. It is believed now that there is a curse tied to them in Mips. Another weird image. Like the last layer, we have yet another image from this wonderful iceberg I was inspired from, and hey, it's the Wario Apparition image. I'll tie this one with the liminal Mario 64 images too, because yeah, the castle can seem liminal at times. Peach is behind the stained glass window. This entry refers to the stained glass outside the castle and inside the castle having a different background color, leading some to believe that there is space inside there, almost like a cage. Princess Peach appears in the front of the stained glass window in the ending, leading some to believe that they are locked inside the stained glass window's room. It would kinda make sense, but you'd think you'd hear Peach crying for help here. I'm not too sure, but this theory is cool. Warner Beta Voice Mystery. Earlier on the Iceberg, we heard Mario's beta voice, which is interesting to say the least, but where did it even come from? Well, it actually came from the Warner Bros. Sound library. Cowboy sound effects from Warner Bros. Sound library can be found in the game's files. It can also be found in the N64 launch title Pilot Wings for Lark's voice. As for the origin of who voiced these lines, I couldn't find out, but cool to see where these beta lines came from. 1995-07-29 build. Do not research. Welp, I researched it and it's interesting. The origin of this build explains that this build was made by an unknown Japanese organization which wasn't even Super Mario 64 at the time. It was in its very early stages, a concept if you want to call it that. This build would favor for the player's likeness and personalize itself for every player. They would then sell it over to Nintendo, and Nintendo would use this build to create Super Mario 64. This would explain why a few entries on this iceberg have had personalization AI in it, along with creating rumored sublevels and other findings. This build is unplayable as it would cause the playtesters to experience horrific things such as seizures and hellish hallucinations. It is often discouraged to research this topic, but if you'd like to know, I'll provide a link in the description. As for personalization AI, we'll talk about that more in the next layer. Wet Dry World Negative Emotional Aura. We've mentioned this on the Iceberg already, but Wet Dry World is speculated to give off a negative emotional aura. It is said that playing through the level and looking at the skybox can just make you feel negativity. Something just feels off about the course, but you can't think what, and it messes with your head. When I would play in Wet Dry World, I just see the skybox of an abandoned lost city, and that itself can put a negative emotion on anyone. Is this true? In some aspects it is. Bowser broke the door. In the castle's courtyard, the entrance door is surrounded by brown bricks, which is weird because the rest of the castle walls is white. Many claim that Bowser broke the door in order to enter the castle, but I'm not too sure on this one. Who sneaks into, I would assume, a guarded castle at the front door like that? Then again, I don't think the Toad guards would just do anything on Bowser. Maybe once Bowser broke the door, the Toads fixed it until they too got captured, or was it Lakitu? I'm not sure. The decompilation is censored. This is a theory that several leaked files of Super Mario 64 have had certain things censored and removed. If true, this was most likely done by Nintendo to hide personalization AI. Yeah, this conspiracy theory is a bit absurd, but I like to think that it was censored randomly for an unknown reason. Textureless Mario Anomaly. The Textureless Mario Anomaly is an anomaly only known to exist in individual personalized copies of Super Mario 64. When entering this anomaly, it provides you with bugs and crashes. It can also happen in altered ROMs through unknown means. While this anomaly is active, the HUD and screen will flicker. Various 3D objects, the pause screen, and other map geometry will appear to be black. When the player interacts with the objects, the game will freeze or crash. In more personalized copies, an error screen will appear instead. The water will also be invisible, and the music and even sound effects will be gone, making the game be in complete silence. Mario will then lose all of his texture, losing his face, which is why this anomaly is so infamous for how creepy looking it is. Truly terrifying. Kick the Bowser picture. This is in reference to a letter written by a Reddit user that was sent to Nintendo asking two questions. First one being if the L is real message on the statue is real, and the second one being about kicking the Bowser picture, leading to a big boo sound. This is odd because Nintendo kinda confirmed here that there was a big boo sound when kicking a Bowser picture, but nothing like this exists in the actual game. Strange. Castle Black Box. In Super Mario 64 DS in the file select screen, we can see a black box that is part of Princess Peach's castle. What's in there? Well, let's go see, or not, because in the actual game it's not there. People have claimed this black box to be where you unlock Waluigi, but I don't think Nintendo's ever cared about Waluigi all that too much, I'm gonna be honest. For whatever reason, it was patched up in the main game but never in the file select screen. Was this intentional, or was this just a slip up by Nintendo? Who knows? Septic System. We already covered this, and because I hate this theory for how stupid it is, let me describe it in one sentence. Hazy Maze Cave is a sewer filled with shit. Yeah. Wiggler's body parts are used in the Bowser fight. When fighting Bowser in Super Mario 64, you can notice these yellow balls that the mines in the Bowser arenas are located on top of, which look similar to the body parts of Wiggler. This is a dark theory, but thankfully no Wigglers are harmed in this video because the textures are different here. Toads literally trapped inside the walls. For our final entry of Layer 4, we have the theory that toads are literally trapped inside the castle's walls. Upon entering the castle, Toad tells Mario that Bowser has trapped the inhabitants of the castle in the walls? Okay, I guess. It's not known if he's being literal or not, however Bowser has canonically used his magic to transform Toads into brick blocks in the original Super Mario Bros., which is kinda dark. This theory is supported by the fact that some Toads can appear after you earn a certain amount of stars, possibly freeing the Toads from the castle. Either way, Bowser could not place these guys somewhere else, like really? The Eternal Plexus of the Castle. The Eternal Plexus of the Castle is quite an interesting entry on this iceberg, which can refer to many different things. It can refer to how the castle is structured in weird and nonsensical ways. Many point to the AI's programming and arrangement with how much the rooms can overlap one another and stretch beyond the castle's limits. Another interpretation of the Eternal Plexus entry is questioning what is behind the castle walls. Many have claimed that they have seen a series of strangely formed rooms that have a bizarre and unsettling appearance. I'm willing to bet though that the main part of this entry is the castle's structure, which I find interesting. Enchanted SC88 samples used in soundtrack. Allegedly, some Roland SC88 samples were enchanted, and listening to it would give you several weird effects when listening to the samples or the songs that the samples are used in. This is from a creepypasta. Not much else I can really find on this topic other than that. Weird. Delicious Cake. Delicious Cake is an unused text of dialogue found within the files of Super Mario 64. It has no known correlation to anything else within the games, which have caused players to speculate what it could have been used for. Many claim that it might either be a cut course or being a reference to the game's start or ending because cake is mentioned in the beginning of the game and at the end. If Delicious Cake was a level, then here's what it would have looked like. It would have been cool if it was a cut course, but I think it's just an unused line for the start of the game. I'm not sure what it would have been, but cool to see a level made out of it. Shared Nightmares. This entry refers to people sharing similar nightmares with Super Mario 64. This would involve eerie things about the game being liminal spaces, the mad piano, beta penguins, textureless Mario, and much more. Because of how quiet and eerie the castle is, it gives you an unsettling feeling that could very well be in your nightmares. These nightmares can also be from Super Mario 64 commercials or maybe things such as the Wario apparition. Eerie how this can occur to many people. Speedrunning glitches are a feature. We've touched on this briefly all the way back in Layer 1, but this is the theory that speedrunning glitches, primarily the BLJ, was intended by Nintendo and was a feature. This has been proven false, as I mentioned earlier that these speedrunning glitches have been cut out before in different version releases of Super Mario 64. However, Nintendo has supposedly mentioned the BLJ before in a Club Nintendo magazine, although that doesn't really give us much answers. Scrapped endings. There might have been different endings of Super Mario 64 that were scrapped from what this entry might be implying. However, this would have been nothing major other than a few differences in dialogue. People have created their own version of different endings, such as the bad ending, savior ending, good ending, and a Luigi ending, which might have been the true ending. If you want to see these versions of alternate endings, then the link for that will be in the description. Miyamoto stole Mario 64 from Argonaut. What? This is such a bizarre and random entry, but I guess we'll just roll with it. Allegedly before the existence of Super Mario 64, Argonaut Games pitched a 3D game that would feature Yoshi. Supposedly, Miyamoto initially turned down this idea and went into creating Super Mario 64, which according to Argonaut Games was everything that they had envisioned with Yoshi, but Miyamoto did it with Mario. Miyamoto would eventually see his wrongful ways and apologize to Argonaut. Now, is there any actual evidence to this claim? No, at least not that I can find, but it could be possible, maybe, I don't know. You're telling me that they messed up Yoshi's dialogue, his white rim, made him commit suicide, and now got his main character role taken away? Yoshi, I don't even know what to say, Yoshi. I mean, it's just done horribly here. Toadstool 64 star. The Toadstool 64 star is referring to a group of anomalous objects in the Penguin Slide segment of Coco Mountain in Super Mario 64 that can only be viewed in the level editing program known as Toadstool 64 with a process known as extended level boundaries. Even though the editor's software always views them as stray snowman heads, they have associated data with other objects. These include coins, a 3-star castle door, a butterfly, a jumping fireball, an open cannon, spin drifts, a static 3D object, and another penguin NPC. and of course, a power star. This power star was the main focus out of any other object in the odd set in Cool Mountain, and obtaining it was something people wanted to do. It was alleged to be the 121st star in Super Mario 64 by these set people too. However, getting the power star is unfortunately impossible. Even if you move it or do anything or some sort of glitch, you just can't obtain it, which is unfortunate. NFR cartridge difference. NFR meaning not for resale are cartridges of Super Mario 64 that are, well, not for resale. This is because this version of the game could contain test maps, beta content, and so much more. The main differences here though are probably from what we saw in the Space World 1995 beta with that wacky Mario voice. Lavender Town and Polybius were cover-ups for Mario 64. During the time of Mario 64's release, rumors of a CIA-developed arcade game known as Polybius spread across the internet. Allegedly, the game was designed to suppress the player's emotions and alter their personality. Players would then become hopelessly addicted and begin to suffer violent outbursts, all while men in black suits took notes and copied data from the machine. Polybius, however, was an urban legend that never took place. Another urban legend that some may be familiar with on this channel is Lavender Town. Specifically, Lavender Town Syndrome, where children would hear the Lavender Town theme from Japan's Pokemon Green and would end up with them committing suicide. No evidence that Polybius exists, and Lavender Town would be proven to not have children commit suicide. Now you're probably asking yourself how these two events were cover-ups for Mario 64. I genuinely have no idea. This entry was on this iceberg that I got inspiration from, so I just thought, why not? I feel like most people put this entry on this iceberg just so that it can be creepy with a little bit of a bizarre twist, I guess, I don't know. Either way, this was a funny comparison. Fourth floor. The fourth floor is an alleged hidden floor in Princess Peach's castle. Most copies of Super Mario 64 only have Princess Peach's castle with 3 floors alongside the tower and the basement, of course. Not much is known about this mysterious floor other than that it's a room with various branching halls and boos roaming the area. The Eternal Fort. The Eternal Fort is an eerie and mysterious course from Mario 64 spread by rumor and speculation. The existence of this area in the final game is heavily debated, and people who have stumbled across this supposed fort have refused to give any details. It seems to have traumatized them. People have claimed the Eternal Fort to be the true final level of Super Mario 64, but was ultimately removed. I couldn't find any fan-made footage of this level, but here's a soundtrack for reference. Enemy Discoloring. Enemy Discoloring is a quirk that is caused by personalization AI. This would give the enemies different coloring, causing them to act differently. Think of it as those enemies that have different colors in games, meaning they're so much stronger. The Mario Silhouette. The Mario Silhouette is a completely black entity that you can supposedly randomly find anywhere in Princess Peach's castle. The Mario Silhouette acts exactly like Mario, except he has no sound and can open star doors for you. The entity itself is eerie to encounter as it watches you from afar sometimes, but it's not actually that bad as it never harms you. Think of it as Herobrine from Minecraft. Super Mario 64 is scripted. This is the theory that the events of Super Mario 64 are all planned out and Mario isn't actually on an adventure to save Princess Peach. Due to 2 Lakitus filming you at every corner and Mario acknowledging at the end of Mario 64 that this is just a game, it makes you wonder if it is. This is highly unlikely because Mario taking damage from lava or just dying in general is very real. However, this wouldn't be the first time a Mario game was scripted, as Mario Bros. 3 was a stage play. The Whomp's Fortress Creature. The Whomp's Fortress Creature is said to be a bizarre anomaly found in personalized copies of Super Mario 64. Despite being named after the Whomp's Fortress level, where it is most active, it has been stated to appear in several other levels such as Bon Bon Battlefield and the Whomp's Fortress Interior. The Whomp's Fortress creature is an entity, but the name has been generalized to report several odd cases of corruption and otherwise normal copies of Super Mario 64 that can appear to be caused by some sentient force. As to what this sentient form is, we have no idea as there are no images of this creature. Feeding Tuxie. Feeding Tuxie is the name given to a weird occurrence in Cool Mountain where the baby penguin Tuxie's head is looking upwards and opening and closing its beak, similarly to the baby bird awaiting food. It was believed to be an error within its model until inspecting it further. This occurrence usually only appears after the little penguin lost, and the Tuxie lookalike will not appear on top of the house next to the mother penguin. Bringing this odd looking Tuxie so results in a regular dialogue when talking to mother penguin when Tuxie is still missing. This is rather strange. The White-Eyed Chain Chomp. This is yet another strange occurrence where a chain chomp can have its pupils disappear, causing it to have fully white eyes. This occurrence does not change the behavior of the chain chomp, although it does make some players uncomfortable, with some even claiming that it can be more aggressive. This occurrence does not change the behavior of the Chain Chomp, although it does make some players uncomfortable, with some even claiming that it can make them more aggressive. Here is footage once again by Jeff Tastic documenting this rare phenomenon. Child of Big Bob-omb. In Super Mario 64, there is said to be a scrapped character in the game, being the child of King Bob-omb, being named as Prince Bob-omb. He seems to act like a more faster version of King Bob-omb, making him more of a threat. On personalized copies of Super Mario 64, you can actually fight him on top of the Bob-omb battlefield after you get the last star. He will proclaim that he will right the wrongs that his father King Bob-omb had. It's unknown as to whether this holds any truth, but there is a supposed scan in a magazine that shows Prince Bob-omb. However, players who supposedly remember this Prince Bob-omb claim that he isn't even real. Mother Dory. We already mentioned Mother Dory in the Don't Become His Lunch entry earlier on the Iceberg, so I won't say much here. Mother Dory is a bizarre entity which can be found in the Hazy Maze Cave. It is said to have black skin with a white belly and sharp teeth, as seen in the photo here. Metallic Monster. Yet another eerie and bizarre creature. The metallic monster is said to be a disembodied head with metallic textures, giving it the name of the Metallic Monster. Not much is known about it other than that it can be found in the supposed sublevel Shiny Metal Ravine. This is easily the most unknown creature in the game, as there is no screenshots nor footage of this creature at all. There is said to be a theme for the metallic monster, but when trying to even open the link I get nothing, which is unfortunate. Sequel is cancelled due to temporal leakage. We discussed this earlier in the Iceberg that the sequel to Super Mario 64, Super Mario 128, was cancelled due to the 64DD's commercial failure. However, some believe otherwise and blame it due to temporal leakage. What are they referring to? Well, let's take a look here. Whoa, what on earth is this? Yeah, I'm not reading or analyzing. I'm not, like, I already made Rick, like, read, like, a whole, like, page of stuff. I'm not gonna read all this. The strange loneliness of Super Mario 64. This refers to just how empty Super Mario 64 is, causing a feeling of loneliness. In several areas of the game, it just feels soulless, but in a good kind of way. It makes the atmosphere feel abandoned and lost. Various areas of the game have no music, which can evoke an eerie feeling. This has caused people to create various creepypastas, rumors, and myths about Mario 64. My favorite part of this, though, are the liminal spaces in Super Mario 64, which can capture the loneliness feeling. Galaxy is close, but I think Mario 64 captures the empty feeling best here. Galaxy is close, but I think Mario 64 captures the empty feeling the best here. I thought it was Galaxy at first, but thanks to the making this Iceberg and replaying the game, I felt that Super Mario 64 won here. And for our final entry of the entire Iceberg, this is kind of, it's a staple for any Super Mario 64 Iceberg at this point. Every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized. Normally, I wouldn't include this entry on any other Iceberg, but it just had to be on the Super Mario 64 Iceberg because it's the only one that makes sense. Throughout the Iceberg, we've been bringing up the topic of personalization AI, and I never really explained it until this final entry. This is the theory that every copy of Super Mario 64 is personalized, meaning that every copy is different. I love this theory because it creates so much fun things around the game, like for instance, like the secret sub-levels we mentioned, the creepy hidden creatures we mentioned, or maybe like sound effects or levels in general. It really does add a breath of fresh air to Super Mario 64, and I'm glad that this theory exists. Without this theory, Super Mario 64 wouldn't even be where it is today. Like, there probably wouldn't even be an Iceberg about it, not gonna lie. So, yeah, I guess that's the final entry. Well guys, after being in development hell for a month, I was finally able to finish this project. For an Iceberg video, being able to make this in 1 month was it was challenging to say the least. I spent most of my free time working on this, and I'm honestly hoping it pays off. I want to do this project because I want to test myself and get out of my comfort zone. In order to succeed, I just had to, and I'm glad if you guys enjoyed this Iceberg. Special thanks to all the sources I used for this video, and you will be credited in the description. I also want to thank my friend Rick O'Dwee for voicing the third layer. Anyways, I've been Daniel7958LX, and this was the Super Mario 64 Iceberg.